Okay, so hello everyone. Today we have the second session in Ramadan. It's about how to select the right journal. For the people who don't know me, I'm Dr. Yasmin Amr, I'm Customer Research and Analytic Consultant from the Middle East team representing Elsevier, and today we will talk about how to select the right journal. So the last session, if you can remember, we talked about the author workshop and what are the common problems that most of the authors facing maybe while submitting their manuscript, and how we can avoid and overcome all of these problems and to just having a successful publication for your manuscript. So today we will try to complement to complete the vision and to see how we can select the right journal, and upon many aspects we will talk today, we can see over these aspects what exactly the most appropriate journal. And this mission is not easy. So for today, of course, before starting, as usual, if any question popping up during the session, please write it down on the chat box or the Q&A box. Inshallah, at the end of the session, I will reply to all of your questions. And as usual and promised, I will share with you the links for the certificate and the survey. And for anyone who couldn't get their certificate or have any problem, just reach out me via my email, and I will share my email with you at the end of the session, inshallah. So about the content of today, we will go through the research cycle and what are the different publishing models. Because based on these publishing model, we will have a different models of the journals itself. What is the basic checklist for selecting the right journal? And what is the meaning of predatory journals? And how we can just trying to have the right journals by using Scopus. What is Scopus? What is the platform Scopus, and what is the main benefits that we can use Scopus for getting the right journal and selecting the right journal? And what is the journal selection top tips? And if we have a strategy to select, so what is the selection strategy, the different selection strategies? And we will go through a demo together using Scopus and the other platforms I present today to know what exactly the benefit and what is the features of each platform and how we can have the maximum benefit from all of these platforms. So first of all, the research preparation cycle, as we can see, it depends on specific steps, as we can see now. So this is a research preparation cycle, and you're preparing your research. So first of all, you need to have your literature search. And based on the literature search and after selecting the topic, you need to review the literature. You need to know what exactly the studies that's previously happened and previously published for this specific field or for this specific topic. And then based on this information, you are trying to collecting from all the platforms and all the information related to that topic, you develop your theoretical framework. And after getting all of this information, you're trying to extract the research questions. And based on the research questions and the methodology you would like to use to answer these questions, so you develop your research design. You're collecting the data. After choosing the right methodology to answer and having an answer to these research questions or hypotheses that you have extracted from your literature survey and your literature search, then you need to analyze these data. And based on the analysis, based on the data you have, so you're drawing your final conclusion. And your final conclusion should rely and should connect it and linked with the research question that you are trying to mention in your manuscript. So this is the research preparation cycle, starting from selecting the topic. And we will see today, by using Scopus, how we can test the topic. We mentioned last time in the last session that it's really important to have a topic which is trendy, not obsolete, not out of date topic. So this is really important. So Scopus, yes, it's a platform that can help us to select the right journal, as we will see today. And of course, it can help us also to provide information about the topic. And if this topic is it's worthy to have effort and doing effort regarding that topic or not. So based on the literature search, identifying your key areas, identifying your research questions, and based on the methodology you will choose, you will have a specific type for the publication. And after all of these steps, you have to select the journal. And of course, if you need some experimental like devices or some experimental chemical materials that can be used, so you need to have more collaborators that can help you to achieve your achievement, to achieve your contribution. And if you need fund, so you have to search for the funding opportunity that can funding your research or funding your work. So after all of these, we stuck at one point, which is selecting the right journal. And because one of the main common problems that face most of the authors while submitting their manuscript, getting rejection from step one from the editor, just stating that this manuscript is out of our scope. That's why we need to know how we can select the right journal. Before going into depth about the different journals and how to select the right journal, we need to know about the publishing models. We have two publishing models. We have two models for publishing, and based on these models, so we have another two models of journals. So the first model is pay to read. Pay to read means that you have to only try to the reader, only the reader, they have to pay to read the manuscript or to need to read the articles or the papers. This is called pay to read, which is called subscription model. So for that model, we have two sides here. We have the reader and we have the author. So the reader has to pay to get the information from the papers, but the author, while he's doing or submitting his paper, he doesn't pay anything. So this is called the pay to read. So while you're submitting your paper, submitting your manuscript to be published, you as an author don't pay anything, but the reader or the other researchers, just to reach your information, to reach the paper after publication, so they need to pay. That's called pay to read. And this is most of the journals having that kind of model, the subscription model. So under the pay to read model, the cost of publication is covered by the readers, not the authors. And this way, the cost of publishing articles is spread across many institutions, many individuals who subscribe to read the papers that's included in that platforms like ScienceDive. So readers pay to receive access to research content to get the information from your published papers. The other model is the publishing model is pay to publish, which is representing the second type of the journals, which are open access. So the open access journals having that model, which is pay to publish. Who will pay in that model? The author pay in that model. So in case of pay to publish, individuals or institution pay an article publication charge, which is called the APC, upfront to cover the cost of publishing. So these articles are made immediately to the whole and all the people in the scientific community for all the countries in the whole world. So you can, all your publications that's published under that model, under the open access model, can be reachable, foundable from all the researchers over and across all the countries. So pay to publish, so who will pay to publish? The individuals cover publication costs to broadcast their own article to the rest of the world. And this is exactly the meaning of the open access articles. So based on these two publishing models, so we have two different journals. Journals doesn't ask for money from the authors, and journals ask for money from the authors. These journals called open access, and the other journals called subscribed journals. So for the second part from today's session is about selecting the right journal. So we have checklist here, and based on this checklist, we need to specify, and you need to answer all of these questions just to have the right journal for your selection. So first of all, how we can select the right journal? So you need, after writing down your draft of your manuscript, to check the references in your article. So of course you have all the sections in your article, starting from the title, abstract, introduction, the methodology, the results and the discussion, and finally the conclusion and the references section. So for the reference section, you can grab all the references. And you can see from all of these references that you have included in your writing, in your manuscript, what exactly the journals they use to publish this information and this article that I have cited in my manuscript. And that will be the first step for your selection or for your list. So we need to prepare what is called priority list of the journals, and starting to having that list, we can start with the references that we have in our manuscript. We need to check if this journal is peer-reviewed to the right level or not. So I need to check if the peer review team and the peer review committee is already known from the website of the journal. All of the people who are mentioned in the peer review process are known and with no fake data. So I need to check about the peer review and what exactly the different processes of the peer review inside the journal website. I need to check if this journal is predatory or fake journal or not. And I provide you today with some tools. These tools can help us today to identify if this journal is one of the predatory journals or not. If I have some doubts about any journal, how I can just check about that and to see if this journal is the right journal to publish in or not. I need to read the journal aims and scope. That's exactly why we have mentioned last session. It's really important to check that the requirements and the aim and the scope and the publications that are published in that journal aligned with the information you deliver via your manuscript. I need to read and download the guide for authors, and we mentioned last session that the guide for author can be found in the website of the journal. So while we are doing the demo today, we can see how we can go to the website of the journal and how we can go to the guide for authors. The guide for authors give us information about the format, the best format that's requested by the journal, how you can trying to write down the different sections in the article or in the manuscript if you decided to submit your manuscript in that journal. Not all the journals having the same structure of the article. Most of the journals having maybe the discussion and the results in a separate sections, but maybe other journals need the discussion and the results in the same section. So I need to review what exactly the requested format of the structure of the article and of course the citation style from the journal itself. I need to check if the journal is invitation only or not, because some of the journals only accept the articles after inviting the author to submit. I need, after selecting the candidate journal or after selecting the appropriate one, to review the recent publications. I have to take a look about the recent publications and what are the hot topics and the accepted types of the articles. It's like a samples that I can have a guide for these samples just to write down my manuscript. I need to take into consideration the type of the article, and this is exactly related and depends on the methodology that you're trying to deliver and you're trying to solve your problems and getting your contribution in the best way in your article or in your manuscript. So I need to decide if the article is a full-length article, or it's a letter, or maybe it's a review article, or some of the research output. So depending on the type of the article, it can be one of the criteria and one of the aspects. Based on this, I can choose the right journal. Do you want or do you need to publish open access? If I have fund, and the fund, maybe the fund sponsors just give me opportunity to have some fund just to publish. So I have fund, so I would like to publish in an open access. So as we mentioned, open access is the pay to publish model. So I need to pay the charge, and I need to get the cost to pay for the cost of the publishing. So that's an open access. So it depends exactly on if you can afford the cost of the publishing, if you choose to publish in open access. I need to identify the readership community. So if this research outcomes is of interest of the local audience, is it for the region? Is it international? So I have to be careful about that. Some examples for that, I would like to make a comparable study between two kinds of crimes, for example, in the Middle East or something like that, or in a specific country. Maybe this kind of a study is not of interest for the international audience. So based on that, based on the information and based on the audience, I have to target the journal. So the journal that have international outcomes, that has international point of view, international perspective, may refuse your article. So I need to be careful about exactly the audience, if the audience is the interest of the international audience or not, or maybe it's local, or maybe based on the region itself. I need to get advice from my library team and my supervisor and my colleagues, of course, about the journals and if the journal suits my manuscript or not. And I need to check the journal performance and the metrics. And all of these metrics can be found in Scopus and the other platforms that we discussed today. And we can see the different metrics. And based on these metrics, maybe can be one of the aspects and the factor. Based on these factors, I can choose the right journal, or just ordering the priority list of the different journals to say, this is number one, this is number two, and this is the first priority, and this is the second one. So it depends on all of these. So I need to identify what is the main factors to me to publish, based on what exactly, if I'm just talking about the quartile, if I'm talking about the metrics, if I'm just focusing on publishing in high quality journal, so that will be my first priority in that way. So it depends on what do you need. Now, what is the predatory journals? The predatory journal, most of the predatory journals comes under the umbrella of open access journals. And it's just asking for publishing fees. So I'm asking for paying money, for having money from the authors. So the author paying money, and more authors paying money, more productivity and more publication the author, the journal receive, means that the journal have more income. And this is the conflict of interest of the predatory journal. They don't ask about the quality. They don't ask about the contribution. They just need ask for the money, and they need money from the authors. So they also have a conflict of interest as we have, and not all the open access journals are bad. But most of the predatory journals just coming under the umbrella of open access. The predatory journal has also an unclear peer review process, unclear reviewers, and unclear information about the editor itself. And most of these journals targeting the young and emerging researchers. Most of these journals, after you published one journal, for example, maybe you receive excessive email from specific journal, just telling you that your contribution is really good, and we are just trying to get you in, and please publish in our journal, and we invite you to publish. And once you receive excessive email from that particular journal, it's a sign for you that this journal is one of the predatory and the fake journals. I need to check in Scopus as well, as we will go through the slides. We need to check from Scopus if this journal is still indexed in Scopus or not. So all the journals, or most of the journals that are indexed in Scopus, is not predatory journal, and we need to check each time we trying to select the right journal if this journal is indexed in the Scopus or not, or maybe in the Web of Science. So we have two databases here. We have Scopus database or Scopus platform, and we have another platform which is Web of Science based on Clarivate. So we have these two databases that include all the journals that are indexed in these databases. Each time I need to select the right journal, I have to go to the journal profile and to select if this journal is indexed or not. I need to check about the history of the journal, of course. So I need to check on the current situation of the journal. I need to check about the history of the journal, and I need to check if I have enough information about that journal or not. If I have enough information, even if this journal is not indexed in Scopus, so I can go through that and I can go through the publication process in that journal. But if I don't have enough information about that journal, and this journal is not indexed in Scopus and it's not indexed in Web of Science, so I have to be careful about that. So to know what exactly the most important information that we need to know about the journal, to not having any doubt about that, we will talk about another platform today to check the questions that we need to have an answer for the questions, to just trust this journal and trying to publish in that journal. So this is about the predatory and fake journals, but how we can avoid these. We have different platforms in this slide, as you can see, how to stay away from the predatory and fake journals. You can see that one platform here called Think, Check, and Submit. Another platform called Journal Finder and Journal Insights. We have, of course, Scopus, and we have Science Direct. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 platforms here that can help us to stay away from the predatory or the fake journals and help us to getting the list. And this list is needed for our priority list to check the most appropriate journal for our submission. So before starting, we're going to Scopus. What is Scopus? Scopus is a database that having only the abstract that's indexed in the database of a Scopus that's coming out from all the resources that's published by more than 7,000 publishers. So it's not only Elsevier, it's more than that. All the resources published by more than 7,000 publishers, only the abstract can be shown via using Scopus. Scopus includes 28 million items, includes more than 80,000 affiliation profile and more than 17 million author profile. So Scopus can help us identify and analyze which journal to read, which journal to submit in, and of course, it has the opportunity, give us the opportunity to track and assess the researcher impact, to decide who we can collaborate with, to track the impact of the research, and to find the current research, and if this topic is still trending and we need to test the topic before diving into the effort and the information and the research and the literature review regarding that topic, and determine how to differentiate between the research topics and to find ideas. So that's exactly Scopus database helping all of these. So one of the most important features in Scopus that can help us to find the different journals that can be covered by different topics and different fields. Scopus also has more than 4.5 terabyte data stored in its repository, and all of these data deliver the metadata that's provided by the publisher, and all the metadata including the authors, the affiliation, the document title, the year, and the EID, the source title, the volume number and the issue, the citation counts, all the document, the DOI. So we have a bunch of information related to each article and to each journal that can be found in Scopus. It has also the historical depths of content back to 1788, so we can have all the information that's old or can be just published before back to 1788. Why we are talking today about Scopus? Because the Scopus have a re-evaluation process and criteria, and that's why I told you it's really important to check while you're trying to choose the right journal if this the situation of that journal in Scopus. Because each year, all the journals and all the indexation, the indexed journal in Scopus going through a re-evaluation process by the Content Selection Advisory Board. They're trying to make a re-evaluation to all the journals that are indexed in Scopus. So we have two types of journals in Scopus. There are journals that is already indexed in Scopus, and there is a re-evaluation process for the existing journals in Scopus just happened and conducted each year. And there are some journals trying to be indexed and they are applying to be indexed in Scopus. So for the journals that's trying to be indexed in Scopus, they are just going through this specific criteria. And if we try to say that we have approximately 3,500 journals trying to submit their application to be indexed in Scopus, so we can see that the first filtration stage is just choosing 39% of these titles. 39% from the 3,500 only meet the Scopus minimum criteria. And it goes through another filtration step here, which is go to the stage number 3, that we can see from this slide that 46% from the 39% from the 3,500 titles trying to be indexed in Scopus, only 630 titles have been chosen to be indexed in Scopus. And that's make us believe in the credibility and how all of the journals trying to be indexed in Scopus going through a strict and very difficult filtration and shortlisting criteria, as we can see here. So this is for the title that trying to be indexed in Scopus. What about the journals that are existing in Scopus? They are going to a re-evaluation process each year. Each year in June, I think, yes, in June, each year the Scopus trying to deliver the journals that will stay with Scopus indexation database, or the journal that's out of this process and can be continued in the indexation process in Scopus. And that's why every time I need to check about the journal, I have to check the current situation and the history of the journal. There is a way, and while we are doing the demo, there is a way just to have all the titles that's not continue to be indexed in Scopus. So we will see today during the demo how we can get the titles that's not and no longer being indexed in Scopus. This is the same information. So we go to the different Scopus profiles. As we mentioned, we have an articles profiles in Scopus, the author profile and the affiliation profile. And we will go through each profile in details. Before going to the details of the different profiles that can be presented by using the Scopus platform, there is a really important information here I would like to share with you about the author feedback wizard. If you are an author and you have published in different journals, and these journals are indexed in Scopus, so you will have in an automatic way Scopus profile or an author profile. So if you are an author and you have a profile, and this profile has been initiated in an automatic way because you are publishing in a journal that are indexed in Scopus, and you can see your profile and maybe you change your institution. maybe you need to change your affiliation. So how we can deal with that? You can go to the author feedback wizard and you can ask the support team of Scopus to change your affiliation name. So the author feedback wizard is available for the author profile changes. Even for your affiliation, maybe your name is not correct. Maybe you have different styles of your author name. So you can combine all of these different styles to having all the publication that you have under your name in just one profile. So you can request via using the author feedback wizard any change you need to apply in your profile. Even it's for your name, maybe name change, maybe incomplete metadata from the publisher. Maybe you have already published one publication and it's not included in your profile. So you will ask via the author feedback wizard from the support team to add this publication into your profile. So this is really important for any author. Going again to the different profiles. So we have here a sample for the author profile. So this is the author. And for the author profile, you can see all the information that's related to that author. This is the number of documents. This is all the citation received for all the documents that's published by that author. And this is the H index. And what is the activity of the the research outcomes of that author year by year, as we can see here. You can see also that your profile in Scopus can be connected to org ID and can be connected to Mendeley account. I think we already talked about Mendeley last session, but you can create your Mendeley account, and by that way you can connect your author profile with your Mendeley profile. Of course, you can connect your author profile, your Scopus profile with org ID. Just to stress and emphasize here that your Scopus profile is automatic profile initiated by the Scopus team and the scope based on the database from Scopus, but org ID is a manual one, so you can add all the information you need. Maybe you can add more publication that's not indexed in Scopus in org ID. So that's all about the author profile. You can get information about the co-authors, who are the co-author that's working with that particular author, and what is the titles of all the documents, and what is the main topics of his interest. Another sample here of the affiliation profile. So if I would like to have information about specific institution, how many authors in that institution, what is the productivity from that institution, what is the main subject areas of the outcomes coming from the publication and research output from that institution, it can give me some insights about the maybe the trending, or what exactly that main topic that they are working in. If I'm looking for collaborators, if I'm looking for doing a getting a scholarship from that institution, maybe scholarship for a postdoctoral, or maybe for a PhD, or for a master's degree, or even for any research activity. So I can get more information about the activity of that particular institution from Scopus by that way. I can have also more and more insights if I'm going to the collaborating affiliation. What is the collaborator that they are trying to have a collaborative activity and research activity between that institution and the other institutions? Maybe I need to have a look if this institution trying to have a collaborators from the Middle East region or not. So it can be a kind of testing if this institution have any opportunity for me or for anyone from the Middle East region to have a collaboration. So that's a kind of information that I can extract from the affiliation profile from Scopus. This is the evaluating the journal impact. This is to know more about the different metrics that can be grabbed from the Scopus profile of the journals. So as we can see, this is an example of the journal, which is called Journal of the American Ceramic Society. We have different metrics here. We have what is called site score. we have SGR, we have SNP. And if we are going down, and we will see that in the demo, we will have another type of metrics called percentile. So all of these metrics rely to the quality of the journal. So the average value of the CITO score, the global average value of the CITO score is 1. The average value of the SGR is 1, and the average value of the SNP is 1. So we can see that the CITO score here is 5.4, which is 5 times the average value. And it can give me some indication about that journal, and the quality of the journal is quite good. And this is the SGR, it's 0.9, which is nearly going to 1, and this is not bad. And for the SNP, it's 1.224, and this is beyond the average value, and it can give us information about the quality of the journal as well. For the percentile, we will talk about the percentile while we are doing the demo, but the percentile here in Scopus is just representing the quartile. So if this journal is as Q1, Q2, Q3, or Q4, what is exactly the quartile of that journal based on the specific area and the specific field that you are looking for. So for this journal selection top tips, first of all, I would like to create my list. So to create my list, I need to list the journal title that's available in my specific field. We have different information here and different tips we need to identify. First of all, I would like to extract the journal titles from the reference section of my manuscript. And that's exactly the checklist number 1 that we mentioned in the last slides. So I need to prepare the preliminary or the draft of the list of the journals. So I need to extract the journal titles first from the reference section in my manuscript. Second step is to use what is called the journal finder. I have a draft of my manuscript. I have a title, abstract, and keywords. So I will use journal finder to have another list of the journal based on the title, the abstract, and the keyword. And maybe you will have an overlap between the list that's coming out from the journal finder and the list you have grabbed from your manuscript, and that will be okay. So we can just make it the filtration between these two lists to have the final list of the journals. Again, the third step is to use a Scopus to find more indexed Scopus based on the specific field, or if I would like to submit my manuscript in a conference rather than a journal. So I have the opportunity to know more about the different conferences that's indexed in a Scopus and related to the same field of my interest. So we have here 3 main steps to have my list of the journals, and that's step number 1. Step number 2 is to determine the impact and the distribution of each journal from the list. After having the list, I need to make an ordering for that list, and the ordering based on my interest. If I'm looking to having a high quality journal, this is my first priority. So I need to make the ordering of all the lists I have combined and all the lists I have based on the quartile and based on the quality of the journal. Maybe I'm hurry. I would like to publish quickly. So my main priority here, it's not the quality, so I can go beyond the quality, but I need to work very quick. So I need to publish quicker in a quicker way. So I will look for the time and the rate of the acceptance. So based on my priority, I will go to the second step here to use what's called the journal insights to have more information about the speed and the reach of the journal. The third step here is to check the journal scope and requirements and the policies. So I need to visit the guide for authors for each particular journal I have included in my list. And after selecting maybe the first top 5 journals of my choice, I have to go to find the recent 3 publications as samples. and get these publications from Science Direct if it's published by Elsevier, or it's not published by Elsevier and published by other publisher, I have to get samples from the other publisher. The final tip here is to check the journal credibility, and I can check the journal credibility just to avoid being stuck in the predatory journal, avoid having a fake journal. So I need to use Scopus. I need to check and search for that particular journal in the database of Scopus. I need to go to use Think, Check, Submit to see what exactly the main information I have regarding to that journal and if it's safe to publish in that journal or not. And I can use Science Direct, as we mentioned before, that from Science Direct I can have also the different title that's based on a specific field that can be published by famous publisher like Elsevier. So based on all of this information, we have two selection strategies. The first strategy that we have an existing list, and this existing list can be extracted from the manuscript reference section. And based on this list, I can check the metrics, I can check the indexation, and I can use a Scopus and Journal Insights to identify the different metrics and the indexation of these journals that's found in that existing list. Another strategy is to having new list, and having this new list coming from using Journal Finder based on the journal, based on the manuscript, based on the abstract and the title and the keywords. I can also create a new list based on the Scopus, based on the subject area, based on the topic, and I can create a new list using Science Direct also based on the subject area. And after getting all of these new lists, also, I need to check the metrics and indexation by using Scopus and Journal Insights. And these are all the strategies that can be used to get and find the appropriate journal. So the first question I need to ask myself if I'm looking for a specific journal, if this journal is published by Elsevier or not. If this journal is not published by Elsevier, so I can go straight away to Scopus to find more information about the journal. If the journal is published by Elsevier, so I can get information from both, from Science Direct and Scopus. You can see that Science Direct may be having some other titles that are local, some other titles not indexed yet in Scopus. And we have a common area here between the journals. We have an overlap here between the journals title that can be found in Scopus and Science Direct. Or if I'm looking for Scopus and the other journals and the other premium journals like Society Journals, the Lancet, Cell Press, so I can go to Scopus. Or if I'm looking for any other kind of journal that may be not indexed in Scopus, so I can find it in Science Direct. And once I get all these lists, I can check and make an evaluation. And this evaluation will be based on the metrics, the acceptance rate and speed and the content. And we can get this information from the Journal Finder besides Scopus and Science Direct. And we can get information about the reach of these journals. And we can get all of this information from using Journal Insights. So what about the unindexed journals? If I'm looking for a journal and I doubt about this journal, if this journal is one of the predatory journals or not, one of the fake journals or not, I need to go to Think, Check, and Submit. For Think, Check, and Submit, you are trying to check if this journal is one of the trusted journals or not. So you will have many questions and you need to answer these questions in the check process. So if you have answered these questions, or maybe you don't have answer for most of the questions, after trying to answering most of the questions delivered in the check section in that platform, you will submit your answers here. And after you're submitting your answer, just the platform telling you if these information you have, if you having the answer of these questions, so please try to submit your manuscript in that journal. If you didn't exceed the number of answers you have for most of the questions, he's just telling you that no, please be aware or be careful not to submitting your manuscript in that journal. So it's mainly depending on the information you have and how the information is robust about the journal that we need to check if this journal is one of the predatory journal or not. And this is for free platform. Let's demo and now we can just trying to use all of these platforms. So we will use Scopus, we will use Journal Finder, and we will use Journal Insights to get information about the different strategies that we have mentioned today. So I will go to Scopus and Science Direct as well. Journal Finder. And Journal Insights. Think, check, and submit. I'm just trying to open the websites for all of these, and then I will share my screen with you. Okay. So we can start with find journals. This is the find journals. You can just write down journalfinder.elsevier.com. This is the website, and you can see here, this is the paper title. So after writing down your draft, you already having a title and abstract. So you will just copy and paste your title and abstract here. Then you can just click on Journal Finder. Maybe I will grab a specific title here. Of course, you should have the most of the abstract is pasted and the title as well. I just wrote down anything roughly, and then I click Find Journals. So I just trying to write down anything about the climate change and global warming, and we have here 39 journals matching the paper. As much as you can, you have to include your full abstract and your full title to having the most focused and appropriate journals. As you can see, this is the journals that offer gold open access. Gold open access means that you can pay to publish. And the other one is journals with subscription. You don't need to pay anything, just the reader will pay, okay? So this is the 39 journals matching your paper. So we can go down to see different journals here. I can see here that there is another filtration option here. This is the best match based on the keyword that you have written in the title and the abstract, but maybe I have a different aspect here. So maybe I'm looking for the acceptance rate. So what is the most acceptance rate here for these different journals? So maybe I will select the acceptance rate. So once I select the acceptance rate, they're trying to reordering the journals based on the acceptance rate. And you can see that that journal, Trends in Biotechnology, for example, it had a CITO score 30.2, which is 30 times the average global value. The impact factor, and we need to know here the difference between the CITO score and the impact factor. The impact factor, it's another metric that's related to the quality of the journal, but based on the Web of Science database. However, CITO score is similar to the impact factor, and it's another metric just trying to be used to qualify the journal, but based on the Scopus database. So they are both two metrics just to indicate the quality of the journal. The acceptance rate here, as you can see, it's 97%. And the time for the first response coming from the reviewers, it's only 5 weeks, and the times to publication is 22 weeks. So it can be article in press for a long time, but it can be accepted after a short time. So maybe that's the first opportunity, the first priority for my list. And of course, it gives you here the model of the publication. So it's an open access journal and giving you the article publishing charge of around that amount. If we're going down, we will have a less acceptance rate here, a less CITO score, a less impact factor than the first one, but it's still high value. And the time for the first response from the reviewers is 9 weeks, and time to publication is 6 weeks. We can go through the different journals here, and we can make our own ordering and our own priority list based on all of these aspects and based exactly on what we need exactly to cover. If we need to just trying to publish in high quality journal, that will be your priority. If not, if you are looking for the acceptance rate, that will be your priority. So that's what we can find from Journal Finder. So if that one Trends in Biotechnology, we can get copy from that and going to the Journal Insights. Here, this is the journalinsights.elsevier.com, and just write down here the journal, and we can, this is Trends in Biotechnology, we can going to Trends in Biotechnology here to find that journal and to get all the information about the journal. This is the way to submit your article. This is the journal homepage, so we can go to the journal homepage in open in new window, and we can go to the publication options. And from publication options, we can see that it has the two publication options. One is pay to publish and the other one is pay to read. And this is the different metrics depending on year by year for the subscribed and the open access. This is the definition of the models, and this is the information that we can grab regarding that journal. This is the homepage of the journal, and we can get the homepage of the journal from the Journal Insights. And from this homepage, we can go through the different articles. We can get the most recent publication. We can see the hot topics here. And as we mentioned, this journal supports open access. That's the way that we can grab the information from Journal Finder and Journal Insights. If we go back in Journal Insights, we can see this is another journal here. It's called the Journal of the American College of Surgeons. So we can go further here and we can get these all metrics. And these all metrics can be found also in Scopus. So we can find all the metrics from Scopus and from Journal Insights. This is the speed depending on the publication type. So we can, the publication time, sorry. So we can go to the article publication time, and this is the reach. Who are the authors who are trying to publish in that particular journal? So this is the online time, article time publication, year by year. And we can see all the metrics as we mentioned before, and this is the reach. who are the most authors who publish in that journals, that we can see that most of the authors publishing in that journals comes from United States, and it's scattered here in different areas, but most of the authors and publications coming from United States. As you can see here, these are the number of publications coming from each country, and this is the meaning of the reach. This is Science Direct, and from Science Direct we can go to journals and books, and from journals and books we can go to only the journals here, or even the books if I would like to get any information about the books, but we select here the journals. We can select the titles here from using Science Direct based on the domain and based on the subject area, as we can see here. So this is the journals after selecting the journal, and we can select the domain, which means the subject area. So if I'm just focusing on, for example, I'm focusing on psychology. So this is the social sciences and the humanities. So I can go to psychology here. So I click on psychology, and it gives me 214 journals that's publishing all the information related or under the umbrella of psychology. I can have another narrowing filtering here. This is the psychology, but I can go in focused field. So under the psychology, I can go to applied psychology, clinical psychology, maybe general social psychology. So if I'm trying to get the information about the different journal titles that's publishing in social psychology, for example, I will go to social psychology, and it downs from 214 to 41 journals. And all of these journals are indexed in the database of Science Direct, and all of these journals published by Elsevier. So from that way, I can having a new list by using the filtering criteria here based on the subject area and the focus, or the focused subject area under your major from here. So by this way, we can having another list of journals. So this is from Science Direct. Going to Scopus. So this is Scopus. So I can go directly to sources. So this is the homepage of Scopus. We can go directly to Scopus. From Scopus, from sources, I can see here all the databases, all the journals that's indexed in Scopus. As you can see here, journals, book series, conference proceedings, and trade publications. And I can choose what the specific quartile I'm looking for. Maybe I'm looking for the fourth quartile, maybe the first quartile. So I can narrowing down these sources and these titles based on the quartile. But before trying to filtering based on the quartile, I need to make a filtration based on the subject area. So this is the subject area, and I can choose here the different subject areas of my interest. So we have here agriculture and biological sciences. I can go down, and maybe I'm looking for some titles that trying to publish in two disciplines, such as law and psychology. By that way, how we can get these titles. So I can go and search for law. This is law and psychology. So this is the different topics, the subtopics under psychology. So maybe I will choose social psychology, maybe the whole psychology field, and then apply. By that way, I can get the titles, which we have here 1,344 results titled that publishing any information under the umbrella of the law and the social psychology. After getting this list, maybe I can make another filtration based on the first quartile, or maybe I need to know only about the open access journals. So if I'm interested in the open access journal, I will just click on display only open access journal and then apply. After apply, you can see how all the result is narrowed down. Now it's 183, and all of these titles are open access. Maybe we need to make another narrowing down. So this is the open access titles, and this is coming under the umbrella of the law and the social psychology, but I need to focus more on the first quartile. So I will click on the first quartile here and then apply. It downs to 33 results. So these are the top quartile journal titles that are indexed in Scopus, and I can approve the credibility under the umbrella of the law and the social psychology. If I need to go more deeper, I will go to each journal and I can have a journal profile. This is the journal profile here. So for that journal profile, we can see that this is an open access. The publisher is Elsevier. The Scopus coverage years are from 2009 to present, which means that this journal is still indexed in Scopus. This is the site score. The site score is the number or the metric measured the average citation received per document published in the serial, regardless the subject title or the subject field. While the SGR, it's 1.455, which is beyond the average value, which is really good. And the SGR related to the cited received, and the citation depend on the subject field. And if there is any prestigious or any premium journal, cite any publication coming from that journal. This is the SGR. The third metric, which is a SNP is 2.699, which is beyond the average value, and this is a good value as well. So we can see this is a source normalized impact per paper, and this is representing the citation received relative to the citation expected for the specific subject field. And we can getting into consideration all of these metrics all together to identify the quality and the performance of the journal. By going down, we can see the percentile. The percentile, as we mentioned before, it's equivalent to the quartile. So how we can understand the quartile based on the percentile? This journal covers two areas, as you can see, two categories here, the social sciences, which is the law, and the psychology, which is applied psychology. And this journal in the law or the social science under the subtopic of law, it's number 3 out of 801, and the percentile is 99. The percentile here is the range of the percentile is from 0 to 100. So if we try to divide this range to 4 quartiles, so we will have from 0 to 25. This is the first quartile, the first divided range. The second divided range is from 25 to 50. The third from 50 to 75, and the fourth from 75 to 100. If the percentile coming within 75 to 100, it means that this journal is quarter Q1. If the percentile between 50 to 75, it's Q2 journal. If the percentile is from 25 to 50, it's Q3 journal. If it's from 0 to 25, it's Q4 journal. So based on the percentile that we can see here in Scopus, we can indicate the quartile. So this one is Q1 in social sciences. And it's also Q1 because it's 97 in psychology. So that's the way you can identify the quartile of the journal from Scopus database. And it's really important for your promotion. If you are a faculty member trying to apply for your promotion from lecturer to senior lecturer, or from assistant professor to associate professor, from associate professor to full professor, you need to have a good quality of your research paper and articles. And based on the quartile quartile of each article, you have the grade depending on that quartile. So that's the way we can identify the quartile using Scopus database. Some of the universities using also Web of Science platform, so we can use combined information from Web of Science and Scopus. Going back, so by that way, we can get the list of the journal. If I don't have the specific field in all of these subtopics, how we can get the source titles? If I'm working in a different discipline somehow and I can't find the keyword here, so how we can get the list of the suggested journals from Scopus? So I will go to Scopus and doing my search based on the topic, based on the keyword. So let us just saying artificial intelligence, for example. Mismatching. This is artificial intelligence, and I will write it down between 2 quotation marks. And let's say psychology. So this is the type of my search, and I would like to know what are the common titles that can publish any information under the umbrella of the artificial intelligence and psychology. Then click search. After clicking search, and this is a new topic, and I need to know the titles, I need to test the topic. So we have here 4,000 document results. All of these document results means that these are all the publications published from more than 7,000 publishers under the umbrella of these 2 keywords. Going down, this is all the subject areas. This is all the year of publication. This is all the type of the resources, and this is the author name. This is the keyword, and here is the source title. The source title here means the list of the journals that publish these kind of information. So we can grab the list of the journals from these source titles here. I can check for the document type if it's review or article, and I can see the affiliation, the sponsor, the funding sponsor. Maybe I can search for a specific country. I can search for only journal resources. I don't need any books. And these are the different journals. And we can see that Scopus also support the journals that's trying to publish in different languages like Arabic or other kind of language like French. So these are all the results. I can click on all of these results and click on analyze. I need to check the topic, and I need to check the outcome and the productivity that's coming out under this topic. So I need to click on all of these results and then click on analyze search results. Once I click on analyze search results, I can have an overall view about all the documents that's already presented here from the results, and I can specify the date and the year. So maybe I need to analyze all the outcomes from 2000, not 1961, to not 2023, because it's already not yet finished. So I can just click on 2021 and then analyze. So based on that information, within that time frame from 1961 to 2021 means here that we have a publication numbers is increasing year by year, and that gives me a trust and good information about the trending of the topic, and this topic is still the interest of the scientific community, and I can work on that topic. So this is the way I can evaluate and I can test the topic by just trying to having a look about the trend of the publications that's published under that topic or that specific field. So we can see here also the specific numbers of publication for a specific year, just to get more and more precise information. If we're going down, we can see here the documents per year by source. So these are the number of documents publication in different journals. So we can see that who are or which is the journal that having more publication in the psychology, the social psychology, sorry, in artificial intelligence and psychology. We can see that the red one is, not the red one, that one is, yeah, that one having the most publication, number of publication, and this is how we can compare the different titles based on that topic of our search and give us more information about these are the titles. And if we need to compare and view also the site score, the SGR and the SNP data, we can click on that to get more and wider information about the metrics of these different journals. Another card here can be useful for us. This is the different authors who are working in that field, and by knowing these authors, maybe it will open to us information or new names for the authors who can collaborate with us regarding to that area or that topic. Again, another card related to the different affiliations, the different institutions, the different universities in different countries who are trying to publish more in that field, and that give us more information about maybe any availability of the scholarship, any availability of the collaboration. That give us more information about the targeted university if I'm looking for a scholarship or if I'm looking to collaborators. Another card here presenting the different countries, which are the countries who are actively searching, researching, and actively publishing in that subject area. And we can see here the trending of all of these countries. And of course, United States is #1 publishing under the umbrella of the artificial intelligence and social and psychology. The documents by type, what are the most publication type for that topic? We can see that 43% of the publications are article, research articles. Coming into the second order is the conference paper. So that gives us more insights about the types of the articles, presenting information and presenting a contribution under that specific field. This is the different subject areas that can be covered by the artificial intelligence and psychology. And we can see that that common discipline can be covered in computer science, which is related to the artificial intelligence. And we can see here, there is a new discipline here, which is engineering, mathematics. So these topics can be covered by different subject areas, as we can see, and from that way we can identify the knowledge gaps and identify any new ideas here. The last card here is the sponsor, the funding sponsor. Who are the most funding sponsor who having fund and have the ability and capability to provide fund for these kind of publications or for these subject areas? It's really important. Maybe based on this information, we can go to each individual funding sponsor and to go to the website and to discover what is the time of the call. Maybe if this call is only for the local people, maybe it's open for international or not. So it opened the way just to get information about the different funding sponsor for that specific area and specific subject area. And maybe we can try to submit a proposal, or maybe we can try to get more opportunities regarding the collaboration. So that's all about the analysis or the analysis step that can be used by Scopus. and give us some insights about the funding, some insights about the trending of the topic, some insights about the country who is very heavily publishing in that area, maybe author names we can collaborate with. So it gives us more and more information if we are focusing on that topic and we need to get more and more information. So if also I trying to click on going back to Scopus, regardless the subject area, so I going to Scopus and advanced document search, so I can go to advanced document search and I can go down to see here also the SDGs. So if we are focusing on the progress of the SDGs, and if our country or even our institution working very well, or we need to work more in that specific SDG, how we can identify our progress or identify our productivity and activity regarding to that specific field. So we can just going to the United States Sustainable Development Goals, click on click on any individual SDG to see what are the different results coming under the umbrella of the SDG. So if we are looking, for example, clean water and sanitation, and we can find here all the keywords that's coming under the umbrella of the SDG clean water and sanitation, which is Sustainable Development Goals number 6. So I can identify in my paper because these are all the keywords that's used in the indexation. So I can focus and I can just pushing and guide my researchers if they are just having a gap in that SDG. So we need to use these particular keywords to achieve more and more publication under the SDG number 6. So this is a way to get more information related to the SDG. Back again, if I'm just looking for law and psychology, having all of these information, and then trying to filtering here, or just going to the open access. Where is that? No, not from here. Going to the sources. I'm sorry for that. Going to the sources. I just need to display something here that display only the open access, and then apply. So this or the open access doesn't relate to the subject area, and then I can identify the subject area. If I would like to remove the open access, so I will remove the select from the display. These are all the titles that's indexed in Scopus. So maybe I can click all of these and then I can download Scopus source list. Once I click on download Scopus source list, I can download the Scopus source titles list here. And the reason why I'm trying to present that, this is an Excel sheet giving you all the information about the journal that's already indexed and currently indexed in Scopus, and it has another tab that's presenting all the titles that's no longer being indexed in Scopus. So once I click on the Excel sheet, and this is the good way to check if this journal is still indexed in Scopus or not. So once I click on the Excel sheet, so this is the Excel sheet as we can see here. So this is all the Scopus sources in October 2022. This is the accepted titles for the title that's trying to applying to be indexed in Scopus in February 2023. And this is the titles that's no longer being indexed in Scopus. And we can check here, this is all the discontinued titles based on the data provided in February 2023. And by that sheet, we can just check about the journal name before submitting your manuscript. If I'm going again to the different source titles, and maybe some of the people looking for the journals that's trying to publish in Arabic language. So I can go here to the right and see the article language. I can make a filtering here by using that arrow. So I click on that arrow and I can see the different languages here. So maybe I'm looking for Arabic English, so I will do and Arabic, and then I will click on OK. Once I make that filtering, it will give to you all the title that's trying to publish in both languages, in Arabic only. As you can see here, it's Arabic and English. By that way, we can identify the journal that's publishing in Arabic or any other language that's indexed in Scopus as well. Maybe we can go again to the language and then select all and give us all the titles here. I just want to mention that as well. Okay, the last thing here, that the think, check, and submit. This is a platform that's used to examine if the information we have about that journal, if this journal is not indexed in Scopus, how we can identify if this journal is one of the predatory journal or not. So I will go to the journals here. And then in Think, are you submitting your research to a trusted journal? Is it the right journal for your work or not? And for the check, you have all of these questions. Once you're answering all of these questions, you just clicking on submit. After click on submit, you will have the final feedback from the platform. If the answers you have is enough to have the minimum requirements of trusting regarding to that journal, so they will give you a feedback to go forward to submit your manuscript. If your answers is not enough, it doesn't meet the minimum requirements or the minimum information needed to have this journal as a trusted journal, so they will give you a recommendation not to submit your manuscript in that journal. So it's really important to use that one if we have a doubt about any journal and we couldn't find this journal even in Scopus or Science Direct, Journal Finder, Journal Insights. This is the way to have the trust about the information we have regarding that specific journal. Okay, so I think I have already finished all the information I would like to deliver today. The last thing I need to advise is not going for your first choice to the fourth quartile. Not jumping from, we need to going from up to down, not from down to up. So please try first to go to the first quartile or the second quartile, not going to the fourth quartile. We have different reasons for that. We need to have to publish in high impact journal. This is the first thing. I need to be quite sure about the continuing of the indexation of that journal. Q4 journal is not a very good choice for us to start with, because it may be for the upcoming or for the next years, maybe it's not still indexed in Scopus. So we have doubt about that. So please try to start from the top, not from the least quartile. That's all I would like to say today, and thank you so much. It's now time for answering your question. Before answering your question, I will just try to share with you the links. And please forgive me if I was like talking too much, too quick. It was a very long day for me. So please forgive me for any misunderstood information. And I'm happy to answer all your questions now. This is links for the certificate, for the survey also. and I will just stop the recording to start answering your questions. Thank you.